put a Queensland jersey on Dan Gagai and he finds a way to score a try.
Cam Munster, he's going to be the one to watch.
He deserves a try!
Even though he's only young, he's such a big name, he's such a promising star.
Well, we've seen plenty of this in Origin. This is one of the best. Matali will score! And Queensland celebrates. He smashed. That's a brilliant rugby league try.
Chip chase anyway? No? Something different, mix it up.
Pride is a wonderful thing for a footballer.
G'day, welcome to this week's edition of Queensland. We've got a massive State of Origin special coming up. But boys, before we get into that, clubland-wise, who does this Origin period impact the most? The Titans, Cowboys or Broncos?
Well, they've all lost a number of their players, their star players. Probably the Titans, I think, maybe more than anybody else. For Artsur, Malawi, Fafita, Brimson and Fotuaika are the star players, of course, that won't be available. So that could be a little bit dangerous for them. But quite often we do see some of the best performances from the sides whilst their representative stars are missing. Everybody else puts their hands up, and if they've got a game and they have to play, then they certainly produce their best for that match in particular.
Yeah, I guess it also depends on the draw as well. Like, you know, with Origin the way it is now, there's a week less than what it normally would take. So I think all the Queensland clubs, how many games are they without their Origins? Is it two? Is it one?
I think it's two, yeah, because the Cowboys have the bye this week, but then play later, whereas the Titans and Broncos both play this week.
Yeah, so looking at the draw then, I think combined with the players out for the Titans and their draw, I think they're disadvantaged the most, the Titans. Broncos have really only got Xavier Coates and Payne Haas missing. So
and Haas probably would have missed anyway with that knee injury tomorrow night or Thursday.
So they're potentially full strength. It's not going to be easy, but they're going to down to Cogra. The Cowboys, they've lost Val Holmes, who's a big loss, but looking at their draw, I think their draw is probably the better one out of this period. So, challenge for the Titans. Yeah,
the Cowboys are missing, they've got a bye first up, so I think that for them is something that they'd be rubbing their hands together, thinking how lucky we are, guaranteed 2 points.
And your man's in.
Yeah, Kyle Felt. I was going to say, I was saving that up for when we're talking about State of Origin, but
I was just talking about Val Holmes, but Kyle Felt, he'll be missing too.
Yeah, and potentially Cohen Hess, who's on standby as well. You've rattled me now.
Well, we did have a couple of guys here that were fans of Kyle Felt from the Cowboys, Lockie. Yeah. We've been chewing your ears for a couple of weeks, one in particular. So, let's say that
I thought that was going to be your opener.
He certainly deserved his position, didn't he?
I might have to hit him up 10% of his match for Origin 1 there, Kyle Felt. But also, do you think the Cowboys, you mentioned they've got the bye first up, then they play State of Origin in their hometown. Surely that motivates the entire NRL squad at the Cowboys to go, hey, how cool is this? We're fully boosted by this experience.
Oh, I think the whole, not just the Cowboys, I think the whole city. It's buzzing now. It'll buzz up until the game, and I still think there'll be a lot of people hungover next Thursday morning, but the town will buzz for another week after the game.
Yeah, it certainly will. And when you get the opportunity to play for your club directly after a State of Origin game, you still feel like that you're up there. Your head's in the clouds, and you want to produce your best to reward the fans that have come along and supported you all the way through prior to your selection in the Queensland State of Origin side. It's one of the most special periods of a footballer's life.
Yeah, I always... My best ever week in my career was if I'd won an Origin on a Wednesday and I backed up, well, it was most of the time with the Broncos, it's a Friday night. Yeah. But if you got 2 from 2, geez, it made a good weekend.
Oh, good. And last one, boys, on Clubland, before we get fully immersed in State of Origin. Tom Dearden's already gone from the Broncos up to the Cowboys. He'll be paired with Scott Drinkwater, with Clifford going to the Knights. What do you make of that? If that turns out to be a success the back half of the season, does the recruitment of Chad Townsend look a bit foolish, like we didn't need to do that?
Yeah, it's complex, isn't it? I mean, I guess we'll know more about that situation at the back end of this year, but I think you talk to most people and you got Holmes, Drinkwater, Dearden and Townsend, and it's like, well, seems like there's one too many. I don't know what has Todd Payton has he said anything on the record about it?
No, he hasn't. He hasn't come out with too much. But I guess we could almost. I know it's easier said than done, Lockie, to say that you're better off having one too many than one too few when it comes to stars who can produce their best form for their clubs. So only time will tell on that one. But I'm particularly looking forward to seeing how Tommy Dearden goes. Been a big fan of this kid for a long time, and I hope he goes very well playing for the Cowboys. That'd be something that he'd be feeling pretty comfortable about.
He's a North Queenslander as well too, so it'll mean something for him to wear that Cowboys jersey.
Yeah, well, look, he's an outstanding kid, from an attitude perspective. So wherever he goes, he's going to be good for the organisation, and he's going to try his hardest to perform every week. So I'm just glad he's got an opportunity to play some first grade and literally he's playing for his position next year.
And hopefully, Lockie, your Broncos will have enough players by the end of the season. You got rid of Tom Dearden, you got rid of Reece Walsh at the Warriors, talk that Matt Lodge is going. Hopefully they'll have 17 by the end of the year.
I think that,
Just Kevy might have to play you, and Kevy might have to come out and retire.
I might have to get the calculator.
Well, watching them, we had the thrill of going down to watch the boys train this morning. They're keen. They're determined, and I really am looking forward to the back half of the season with the Broncos. They've had a tough start. They know what they're up against, and it's going to be particularly interesting to see just how they gel together.
How did Cobbo look?
First time that I'd really taken too much notice. It was a very short training session this morning. I had to put the hand up and say I virtually missed it. But just to have a look at it.
Did you get a burger?
I got there for the burger time, just in time, and so did Dobbo. Yeah. Just another surprise. We wouldn't miss that one. We got there for the burger. Put the feed bag on.
Yeah. But I've watched a fair bit of Selwyn Cobbo, who's been playing fullback in the Intrust Super Cup for Wynnum Manly. He actually looks like a combination of GI and Latrell Mitchell, body type-wise. I don't want to put too much pressure on him because two of the best players in the modern era, but he's definitely an excitement machine, one to watch. I think he'll play on the wing, but he's traditionally a fullback, so maybe.
Yeah. I mean, the club's excited for him, and congratulations to him for working his way into that position. A debut is always a special moment in your career, and I think most of the people at the club and the NRL are looking forward to seeing what he can do.
And the Sherbrooke Hornets, he comes from that part of the Burnett region of Queensland. But the big region we'll be focused on is North Queensland next Wednesday night, State of Origin, taking a game to Townsville. Well, is it fair? They're crying poor down in New South Wales. Is it fair? Was it the right decision?
Let's pull out the tissues.
We don't care if it's not
Let's
fair.
pull out
It's
the tissues. Yeah, it's happening. There it is. Yeah, we've heard it. We used to hear it all the time about they played 2 games up in Queensland again. It's unfair. Well, what happened when they played 2 games in New South Wales? Suddenly it was all okay again. Look, I'm sort of not aware of the reasoning behind the decision to play it in Townsville. There must have been something. I could hear a lot of people saying that Canberra might have been up front, but then they put the finger up and said, no, that's the Australian Capital Territory. It's not New South Wales, so couldn't have it there. Could it have been Newcastle? Well, I guess it could have been, but certainly it could have been at the stadium at Parramatta, Bankwest Stadium. That's a magnificent stadium. So the vote went ahead, and financially it appeared to be much more stable to take the game to Townsville. And if they're making the decision on financial affairs, well, you certainly can't blame them.
It's going to be an interesting test, isn't it? Like, I think if you look at when they're trying to grow the game, you take it to Adelaide Oval, then you go to Perth, and then you go to MCG. Like, I know that holds a lot of people, but those markets don't necessarily 100% understand rugby league, and the crowd's a little bit away from the rectangular field. So it dilutes the product somewhat because of the atmosphere. Yep. So you go to a smaller stadium, the atmosphere we know is going to be amazing, and the whole build-up to this game is going to be, enormous. So I think once the dust is settled after this game, the NRL would have to seriously look at the numbers that are generated from a brand uplift and from the financial perspective and go, well, this might work at smaller stadiums across the country, whether Newcastle comes into it, Canberra does. I just think this could be the start of something new for the NRL.
And I look at it from the perspective of This is the region that produced Sam Thaiday, Billy Slater, Jonathan Thurston played the majority of his career, Matt Bowen, Nate Miles.
Gene Miles,
who was Waller's right-hand man. How about we say thanks to this region for producing all those players? After all that's happened in State of Origin, they deserve a game. They can take it, and then maybe in the future, Newcastle can get replicated with a game like that.
Yeah, well, there's... where did Billy Moore come from? I know Gary Larson's sort of up that way, but there's so many great names in our game.
Justin Hodges is from North Queensland.
Is Martin Bella? He's from up there.
Yeah,
just down the road, Serena. Yeah, not far away.
So there's talk of getting some of those older brigade ex-players to do a guard of honour. That'd be pretty good. There'd be some different body shapes.
They would be volunteering for that position. There might be a drink payment necessary, but it certainly would add to the thrill. This is going to be a wonderful game.
Yeah.
It's going to have enormous atmosphere being played in the bush. Townsville certainly has produced plenty of rugby league history over the years, and to see the game going up there, I think, is going to be exciting for everybody, certainly in the Queensland camp at least.
And we still don't actually know who's going to be in the Queensland team. Maybe Lockie can tip us in a bit. We've had all the injury concerns. Callum Ponga's been ruled out. Munster, AJ Brimson, all those associated injury concerns. How hard is that, Lockie, considering they're key members of the spine, those players?
Oh, look, it's not ideal, but, the reason for picking 20 players is we knew we had suspension issues, we knew we had injury issues. So we got plan B in place for... if plan A doesn't come off. Caelan's done, which is unfortunate, but we had a backup plan there. In regards to, Kafusi coming through, that's a box ticked. It's just now giving, guys like Grant and Munster just a little bit of time. But from what I'm hearing, they're going well. So they should be playing, yeah.
And what about Cam Munster? Well, hasn't played in a month going into an Origin game.
Yep, has had plenty of time. Look, I don't know. He's probably the only one that knows whether he is a realistic chance of playing in the game, whether he is in some doubt. But he's one of those players that I think he wouldn't have to play for 3 or 4 weeks in the build-up to the game. You could rely on putting him on the field. He plays with enormous confidence. He loves to dictate now. I like talking to him about his thoughts for a game. He produces some pretty good information, but it's his instinct on the field, very similar to the great players like Lockie, Jonathan Thurston. They all had it, and he's one of those players that I think there may be disappointment about not seeing him on the training paddock and fear of him not being out there, but ask him whether he wants to play, even if he's not totally fit, the day before the game, and he'll tell you yes, 7 days a week.
I think, when you haven't played for a while, if you're playing with a niggling injury, it comes down to self-confidence, and he doesn't lack that one bit. So I don't think it'll bother him at all.
As Paul Green said the other day, at least he's fresh. He had an extended period playing for the Maroons last year, got all the way to the grand final. A month off might be good for him. He's fresh, even though he's carrying the injury. Another person carrying injury hasn't played for a while for the Storm, Harry Grant, Lockie. Is it too much to ask for him to play 80 minutes at hooker coming back from injury, or do we need backup on the bench for him?
Look, I think, by all reports, Harry's fitness in terms of his cardio fitness is extraordinary. So I think playing 80 will not be an issue. He's young. He's only played... How many games has he played? I think one.
Yeah.
We come off the bench, right? So it is different to coming back and play 80 for the Melbourne Storm than it is to playing 80 at Origin level. But from all of the good judges that know Harry, they're confident that if he's fit physically, that he'll be able to do 80 at Origin. Whether he does, that remains to be seen.
Yeah, I don't think my view on Harry Grant is going to cause any surprises here. I can remember chewing your ear the first time that I saw him play. I'd seen 7 minutes of him, and I said, this kid's going to play for State of Origin. He'll play State of Origin in the next couple of games. He has got wonderful potential, wonderful skills, and the way he's able to assess a game and read the play so early in his career is very impressive, and I think he's going to have the full support of plenty of players around him.
I just love watching him pass the ball off the ground.
Yep.
It's so good when you watch it at ground level, like on a 50-metre line, he just passes it so crisp off the ground.
Yeah, he's got a good pass. And at Origin level, when time is is important with the football. To get a crisp pass with width just allows Cherry Evans, Munster, those guys to get to an edge really quick.
And there's talk, let's turn attention to the New South Wales team. Jerome Luai and Nathan Cleary match up for the first time in Origin. There's talk that's probably not the right combination. How hard it is to take club-level footy into State of Origin. It's not automatically a recipe for success just because they're going well at the Panthers. They can take it into Origin well?
No, it's not. It certainly won't be guaranteed that they'll be playing the same standard with the same form. They do look super confident while they're playing for the Penny Panthers. Luai looks like he's got as much confidence as anybody that I've seen. He certainly takes his game to the big boys and makes sure that he tries to dictate terms to them. But to have it in a State of Origin, I guess only time will tell whether it actually works or not and whether they're quite successful on the field. But you can't question their authority in the NRL game so far. They've been fantastic and they've been very refreshing to watch. I've certainly enjoyed it. Haven't enjoyed all the results they've handed out to their opponents, but all I can say is NRL football is a little bit different to State of Origin football. They're not playing with an identical cast around them. They're going to have several different players outside and in, but certainly, you've got to have a look at not just those two guys, but quite usually it's the 1, 6, 7, 9 campaign. How that fits in, and if they've got one, well, the 6 and 7 normally feed it quite well. They feed off the 9 very well and provide opportunities for the player at fullback.
The biggest difference I've always said between NRL and Origin is time. It gets taken away from your time. And look, I don't think we're questioning the combination. Like Nathan Cleary's there every day of the week, right? Definitely. So it's just people saying, "Well, is Luai up to it?" And look, I think he's a talent. Whiten would have been the other guy, or Cody Walker, but Whiten, is playing at the Raiders, who are out of form. Whereas you go with a kid that's confident, it might be his first game, but look, all I know is that the Maroons are going to have to do their homework, not just on Cleary, but they have to do their homework on him too, because he's a bit of a live wire. Yeah,
that's for sure. And on the other side, Lockie in his defence, he'll probably find it a little unusual getting used to having new guys inside, outside. It won't be the same combination guaranteed all the way through, but he certainly deserves his selection. He's been in wonderful form for the Panthers.
It's not bad having, I think, Latrell Mitchell outside him, so,
Not bad.
Yeah. Don't you love it, though? New South Wales changed their halves again. They just can't seem to stick with the halves pairing. We've got rock solid DCE and Munster. Fingers crossed they'll get it done.
Well, that's one of the things that's always happened with New South Wales, is that they've always had more options. So
okay.
So they always... Well, I know Freddie likes to pick guys that are in form. And whereas Queensland... I'm not playing the violin, but Queensland, we have a couple go down where, we're struggling to find replacements, whereas New South Wales have got options coming out left, right and centre, and that allows them the ability to choose and change.
Good point.
And with that heavy Panthers influence in the New South Wales side, do you think it would be wise, Paul Green, to have a chat to the Storm players in the Queensland squad who did so well to combat them in last year's grand final? Maybe he has a word to them saying, what was your recipe for success? Would that happen?
Well, I think you consult Cameron Smith if you can find him.
Yeah. He's on the Gold Coast somewhere on a beach, I think.
No, well, look, obviously the difference between that game and this game is there's no Cameron Smith, right? So, but I'm sure there would have been some stuff. The Storm, knowing Craig, they study the opposition more than any other team. So they'd have some things there that they can probably give to Paul and say, look, let's put these into play.
Yeah, I don't think there'll be any trouble at all suggesting that there will be a conversation take place. So some suggestions come out, and when it's coming from the best in the business, you've certainly got to take plenty of respect for that comment.
And Craig Bellamy's living in the Sunshine Coast at the moment. Least he can do is reciprocate and help us out in Origin, even though he's a former Blues coach.
Well, look, I think if you're the coach of Queensland, and I suppose if you're coach New South Wales, you want to take time off the key players, and to do that you've got to win the battle in the middle. So if we're going to do a good job on Nathan Cleary on next Wednesday, then the big boys are going to have to do their job up front. for that to happen. If that doesn't happen, then Cleary, with time and space in front of him, you can see what he's done at NRL level, and he'd be a challenge for us and the rest of them in that back line.
There'll only be one small difference, and that'll be the pace of the game. It always increases from club level, and Cleary he's been outstanding this year. He's been wonderful. He's had time, he's had space. The decision making has been 99.9% correct. So he's done it quite well. Look, he's got a few blokes around him that he's quite aware of their talents, their skills, and their wants, and he'll be able to work with them. But they will be playing against a more talented opposition.
What about the heat? When I say heat, it's not hot, but it's the minimum next Wednesday is saying 17 and a high of 26. So compared to what they've been playing in the last month, like, the heat, I'm hoping it advantages us.
Yeah, and for any Townsvillians up there, take your heaters to the game. Just plug them in underneath. There's PowerPoints there that could help. It could work out. You're right, Lockie, because they've become used to playing in quite cool conditions, particularly over the last couple of weeks, and they'll be preparing in daytime temperatures, I guess, which will be their bonus, their benefit. But certainly there'll be a number of issues that have got to be taken into concept before a decision is made.
So just lastly, before we go, when are you going? When are you going up?
Sunday night.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
You're looking
Getting
forward to
there
it?
early, yeah.
So you got accommodation? You got a flight?
I'm staying with my mum and dad.
Oh, yeah.
That's the only way I could get accommodation.
Yeah, right. And are you just going to soak up the atmosphere for the?
Pretty much.
For the few
3 days. Maybe catch up with Felty's family.
Oh, yeah.
Say how good that is that he's in the team.
Talk about how excited they're going to be. What are they going to be doing at kick-off? How excited? Yep.
How good will the Mad Cow be that Wednesday night?
Oh, there's some free drinks coming. A little bit of promo.
Yeah, shameless plug.
Ka-ching! There it goes.
The joint will go off if Felty scores one of his famous sort of one-handed tries.
Yeah, look, whoever hosts State of Origin games, that town goes off particularly close to the mark. Yeah. That's certainly going to continue in Townsville next Wednesday. Boy, oh boy, that's going to be something else.
There's going to be a lot of pubs that are going to be very popular. A lot of pubs. Yeah, so look out, Townsville, but enjoy it.
And the only place you can see it live and exclusively free, if you can't get to the stadium in Townsville, right here on Channel 9, Wide World of Sports, your home of NRL and State of Origin footy.